key matchup. When you look at Morgan State, they lost to Howard, that is sitting at number 2. I wanted to make sure people realize that 88-56. Now Morgan State did bounce back and defeat Norfolk State in one way. They pretty much dropped Norfolk State outside of the polls, just to give you some indication there. But guess who's number 1? Maryland Eastern Shore Hawks. We had
what in the
this program so long, and they probably rolling quietly get it done. They're sitting at 10-8, 4-1, and they got 4 first place votes, not ranked, and jump in the polls all the way to number 1 with 111 points. They take down Central on the road 59-58, and that is after they bounce back and they take down South Carolina State on the road 76-60. Their previous loss in terms in conference play was their first game in conference when they lost to Norfolk State 57-46, but they've run it off since there. They defeated Howard 82-73. Delaware State 68-66. Maryland, South Carolina State 76-70, and just defeated North Carolina Central 59-58, as I said. 4-1 in conference play. That's your new number 1. Take it and leave it. I'm going with you, AD Drew. Woo! I told you I had some fire. I want to see what you say about this one. Get your calculator out. Where's your computer?
I'm almost speechless on this for Dr. Kabir. Almost speechless. First of all,
you did pause, so you were speechless for a minute. I got you.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, that was a very pregnant pause. That was a 9-month pregnant pause right there.
There wasn't no creamies on that.
Yeah. First of all, damn you, Alcorn State. And great run that you have had in this SWAC. But were it not for Alcorn State, Dr. Cavill, do you realize this would have been the first time all season that you would have had every team in your poll not upside down? Alcorn State was the only team in this poll that was upside down. So damn you for Alcorn State for your non-conference record. All you had to do was get one more, and then would have been the first time. Hopefully next week. Now I say this. Now next week everybody will be upside down, so you know how that goes. But looking at this Maryland Eastern Shore, I'm still trying to scratch my head. Oh, that one, Dr. Cavill.
Four straight. And let me get it straight. Alcorn actually has won 6 straight.
I understand your justification for having Maryland Eastern Shore up there, but I'm supposed to get into you like you got into me. Despite the head-to-head with Maryland Eastern Shore over Howard in the conference opener, I still can't see. I guess this. Howard has more sexy victories than Maryland Eastern Shore.
They do.
So, as a human voter, we all love our sex. So that's the that's why I would have had to go with Howard over Maryland Eastern Shore. Despite Morgan defeated your previous number 1. Correct me if I'm wrong. The number 1 from 2 weeks ago. Norfolk was like number 3 last week, and they now sit. That only got them to number 5. Dr. Cavill, I've got to question that. I think Morgan should have been up ahead of Southern and possibly Alcorn if you consider Morgan's non-conference. Now, conference.
All this East Coast bias.
I'm not doing East Coast bias. I'm really not trying to get this East Coast bias. You asked my opinion. I'm giving my opinion. I'm just throwing out things. If I would have put pen to paper or finger to keyboard,
this really has thrown him off.
I am glad I did not see this before I put this on the screen. That's all I'm gonna say. Go ahead, y'all.
The great Davey Whitney is looking down right now, shaking his head. The Wiz is shaking his head. Alcorn has won 6 in a row. 6 in a row since that early elbow to Jackson State. Landon Bussey is not had. Dominic Bruton is somewhere shooting threes right now. I'm telling you, this Alcorn State team, this is a tough team. Landon Bussey got them. He got them in the right direction. They're trending upward. That was a shocker, the way they started off swag play with the loss of Jackson State. But I tell you what, we talked about Howard being one of the hottest teams out there. They won 4 in a row, but Alcorn sitting over there, they won 6 straight. This is a good basketball team that will lock you up on the defensive side of the ball. They play tough man-to-man defense. So I really like this Alcorn State basketball team. The one that really opened my eye this past weekend, Howard destroying Morgan State. That was, golly, I did not see that coming. Yeah. When you talk about beating a team, and then Morgan State flipping that back around and beating Norfolk State last night on ESPN2, it said a lot to me about this Howard basketball team. But I probably still would have had Alcorn in front of them, despite the upside down overall record.
I did want to talk a little bit about bowls, and people have asked questions about the Celebration Bowl in terms of the payout. What does that look like? Just to give you updates there, you're talking about $1.2 million payout in terms of the bowls that go to the conference. A percentage of that goes to the institution, depending on the split. 75-25 for the SWAC, 70-30 in terms of the MEAC, or that was the last percentage breakdown in terms of what that looks like. But I want to do a little comparison so you get a chance of what does that look like. Obviously, you have the major bowls, and you've seen what they do as they off the chart in terms of the New Year's Six, $14 million, significant type of money. But you see how long they've been in the business for the Rose Bowl, going back 100 years. In terms of what they do there and how they're tied into the CFP and how they have really engulfed all the money. But if you look at some of the other bowls out there, there was an article that talked about the Quick Lane Bowl, really focusing on New Mexico State, which it was encouraging fans to purchase tickets. And it wasn't so much about purchasing a ticket. Obviously, you want to support your team. But a lot of it would maybe be at the distance that a lot of fans wouldn't necessarily travel for a 6-6 Aggies team that was playing a 6-6 Bowling Green Falcons team, if you would, coming out of the MAC all the way in Detroit. So they were asking fans to support the team that did make a bowl and purchase tickets so they could donate them to Detroit area youth. That's a great thing for the youth to get a chance to get out and see some college football. But I wanted to get into some of the money. When you talk about this particular matchup, when you see what was going on here, 3 things to know about the Bowling Green as they entering into at that time the Quick Lane Bowl, which was this past week, if you would, a week ago, I should say. The university closed travel cost them $400,000 travel to Detroit. When you talk about the Celebration Bowl, one thing is unique. You heard last year they got the deal with Delta, actually flew the teams in there to Atlanta, and that was at no cost to the teams. So you didn't have to worry about that type of cost where you see it doing $400K for Detroit. And so some interesting things there when you think about it. But this is really it was interesting when I seen this when you talk about these payouts. Because a lot of folks talk about $1 million, $2, $3 million payouts for these bowls. One thing people don't realize, a lot of times these bowls, a bigger number in there, but they'll charge you, as you see, for your travel, your hotel stay, food and things of that nature while you in there. They'll also charge you for the band in terms of the band and who you bring in there. They'll charge you a ticket price for the band members in the stand. And so the payout for the Quick Lane Bowl was $150K. Yeah, let me say that again. The payout for that bowl game was $150K, and which is why you see the fact that they were encouraging their fans to buy tickets, because this is where it can get a little benefit to the team. New Mexico State athletic director was quoted saying that the university will retain 100% of the revenue from the first 2,000 tickets it sells, 50% of the next 2,000 tickets, which by New Mexico wants its fan base to purchase all of these tickets, because if they did, they could recoup $420K. in terms of what that means. So just to give you some indications of what's out there and why you really need to look at the contracts, or at least get some more information of some generalities of these various bowl games to get an understanding of what that looks like. So just on the surface, I'll go to you, Charles. What are your thoughts in terms of what that looks like when you see, especially some of these small bowls, in terms of what they bring to the table when you compare? Because a lot of folks will instantly go to the larger bowl games and say, hey, they're paying out this. And just so one of the things we always like to talk about only is the business side. So you see some of the numbers that go out there and get an understanding what that looks like. What are your thoughts?
Tremendously enlightening to really find out some of the ancillary costs. I think that those are things that you almost oftentimes take for granted, Dr. Gill, that you know, those the charging for the band and things of that nature. So you never sort of calculate those into what goes into the bigger picture. But it's fascinating to see the numbers finally, you know, out there for all of us to really grasp and understand, you know, what a jewel that you have within the Celebration Bowl, I think.
Yeah, and you see the numbers continue to move up, which always helps both in terms of attendance and the ratings, which is more powerful. So when you sit back in the table, it gives you a chance to continue to push for bigger payouts. Mike, what are your thoughts in terms of just getting a different framework of the bowl landscape, how varied it can be at the time?
Yeah, you often wonder, you know, you look at all of the activities that take place, and then you look at, you know, who's transporting the group here, who's transporting the group here, who's paying for this dinner, who's providing gift baskets for the team. Those are all costs that are buried underneath the umbrella of the bowl cost. So, and you take that into consideration. And then you wonder, does the bowl game have the sustainability of growth and volume over the course of 3 to 5 years to kind of, you know, eat a lot of those ancillary costs down, you know, such as transportation costs, hotel costs, dining costs, you know, their awards costs, or whatever. I think in some bowls, some of the bigger bowls, I think some of the players get gifts or whatever. You wonder where that's covered, what pot that's covered in. So you get all those little, I guess, trinkets into that big basket of bowl costs, and then it gives you a different insight on, is this a viable bowl game? And like CB said, all that in consideration, it gives you more of an appreciation for not only the performance of the Celebration Bowl, but the growth that you've seen over the last 5-6 years.
As I mentioned earlier, John, you're the executive director of the Celebration Bowl. Just curious, how does one become an executive director of the bowl? I mean, what are the qualifications?
That's a good question, because I still don't know the answer to that. It wasn't really something that I was pursuing. I was chief executive for 100 Black Women of Atlanta, and we actually ran a game, the Atlanta Football Classic, that featured Florida A&M and Tennessee State.
Okay.
And when ESPN was looking to launch the bowl game in Atlanta, you know, they reached out to me through the commissioner at that time to have a meeting with them. Okay. And so the conversation sort of led to you know, to an offer to join ESPN. And I initially was a little hesitant, but just simply because I was enjoying what I was doing. But I enjoy building things, and I saw this really as a great opportunity to build something institutional for historically Black colleges and universities, HBCUs, okay, and to put to work at putting us in a space where we aren't, as it relates to being with the other bowl games. And although the Celebration Bowl was sort of a legacy of the Heritage Bowl, which was a legacy of the Pelican Bowl, okay, that it was our desire to make sure we were able to institutionalize this in a way that, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, that that this game would be very, very viable and would certainly be functioning at a level beyond what anyone would imagine today.
Absolutely. And so in 2015, that was the first year the Celebration Bowl was correct?
Correct.
How well, you said ESPN, so who pitched it to ESPN? Did ESPN come to somebody, or someone actually pitched it to them?
Well, Dr. Dennis Thomas, who was the commissioner of the MEAC at that time, approached ESPN with the idea to get engaged with the bowl game. It wasn't called the Celebration Bowl at the time; they had no name, because the Heritage Bowl, which preceded that, had actually gone defunct. I think it was back in 1999, around that time, and so pitched the idea to ESPN, and it actually took 10 years after that for the MEAC chancellors and presidents to vote to approve giving up the automatic qualifier to go to the playoffs and actually go to the bowl game. So initially, again, it was his idea to pitch it to them. But as I tell people, there's a lot of great ideas out there that are in file cabinets and a lot, some in the trash heap. But because it takes three things to actually put something together. It takes an idea, then it takes someone to finance it, then it takes someone to build it. So it's a three-phase. So certainly applaud Dr. Thomas for the idea. And I applaud, ESPN stepping up and saying, hey, we had to finance this. And then, we were fortunate that we were able to come in with our team and actually build it. And so that's why we have what we have today.
That's awesome. The first time that I actually came to the Celebration Bowl was in 2019, and she say sports was just taking off, and I was working with BJ Jones and Charles Bishop. They were showing me the ropes, and I was trying to get on Radio Row. I couldn't get there. Something was going on that they stopped it or whatever, but I was amazed at how it was just like, for us, I had never seen that before. And it was a beautiful thing. And you guys have done an amazing job, truly an amazing job. Absolutely. So John, how does the Celebration Bowl continue to stay nimble in the era of television market share and ever-changing landscape? Simply put, how do fans define what is the growth of the Celebration Bowl?
That's a very good question. I like to, I always begin with the end in mind when I'm looking at anything. And the ultimate goal for us was to build a Super Bowl, to build our Super Bowl.
Curious, when people work in sports, I always want to know, how did your love for sports begin?
That is a fantastic question.
Thank you.
I'm not sure how I can pinpoint when the bug bit me, but I always talk about, in our house growing up, there was always a black and white picture of my mom's basketball team. And so I grew up knowing that she started as a freshman. She was also part of integrating a predominantly white school. And so she would tell me about some of the struggles that were involved with that. And so I think that always I kind of wanted to make her proud, and I always felt like the bar, she never said that, but I always felt like the bar was going to be starting as a freshman and doing those other things. Although I played softball in high school as well, basketball was my first love. And ironically, one of those things, when you've looked at that, something for so long, I did start as a freshman. And one of my most favorite years of all in sports was that freshman year when I was allowed to play on the junior high team and the high school team. I grew up in a small Class B school. And so absolutely loved that year where I was playing basketball 5 to 6 days a week.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, and like you said, you just wanted to make her proud, even though she never said it, but you was trying to
Right.
follow her footsteps, and that's pretty cool. So as I mentioned earlier, you're a Hall of Famer from your alma mater, with such honors as Player of the Week, OIC Scholar Athlete, OIC and District 9 All Conference teams, and Northwestern Ranger Queen. What amazing accomplishments. How, with basketball classes, possibly campaigning for Ranger Queen, how were you able to juggle all this and keep your GPA up?
Well, it's one of those things that I absolutely loved college, and some of my friends from the Baptist Student Union, they were my sponsoring group for Ranger Queen.
Okay.
They talked me into it, and ironically, it's the first time that I learned that other people other people can see some things in yourself that you may not see at the time. I
Right.
never ever considered myself Queen material at all, and I wouldn't have had the nerve to do it had some of my friends were like, "Hey, we'll help you with the posters. We'll help you. We'll back you. You can do this. Everybody knows you," but they didn't know me in that realm. And so I don't know. That was a very eye-opening and life-changing time for me as well.
Yeah.
So to be voted in by my peers at a PWI meant a whole lot to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
So-
I always saw myself just as a jock, an athlete, a scholar. I did see those things as me, but a queen, I never saw that.
Well, you're a queen, sister. That's for sure. You are amazing. Just researching and reading your bio, I was like, wow, she is amazing, and that's why I'm so excited that you're our very first guest. Eddie Rogers, you were inducted in the Hall of Fame in Langston in 1998. I believe 9 years after you graduated, or 8 or 9 years. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. How was that moment for you to be honored in that way?
No one really prepares you. It's like when you're excited about it, and I was honored. My family was there to see me inducted, but I was not prepared for the rush of memories as you're getting ready to thank those that have played a part in your induction. I just saw the hours and hours outside playing on a grass court, the excitement when my dad built my first goal. And it was big because he actually had a welder. I had the metal pole, the everything, still had a grass court. But I mean, I looked at all the hours that were spent in the backyard and that had brought me to that point. The sacrifices that my mom and dad had made. We weren't rich by any means. My mom was a school teacher. And, all of that was full circle. And I just felt grateful to God that he allowed me to experience that moment.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, Eddie Rogers, you served 4 years as an athletic director for women's sports and was selected as AD of the Year for Region 6 in 2003. Now, I never knew there could be separate ADs for women and men's sports. Could you elaborate on that for me? I mean, why was it just for women's sport?
So at that point in time, we were at NEI Division I school. And so we split the responsibilities. Part of my time, there were 2 years that the other men's AD.
I did want to talk a little bit about bowls, and people have asked questions about the Celebration Bowl in terms of the payout. What does that look like? Just to give you updates there, you're talking about $1.2 million payout in terms of the bowls that go to the conference. A percentage of that goes to the institution, depending on the split, 75-25 for the SWAC 70-30 in terms of the MEAC, or that was the last percentage breakdown in terms of what that looks like. But I want to do a little comparison so you get a chance of what does that look like. Obviously, you have the major bowls, and you've seen what they do as they off the chart in terms of the New Year's Six, $14 million, significant type of money. But you see how long they've been in the business for the Rose Bowl, going back 100 years in terms of what they do there and how they're tied into the CFP and how they have really engulfed all the money. But if you look at some of the other bowls out there, there was an article that talked about the Quick Lane Bowl, really focusing on New Mexico State, which it was encouraging fans to purchase tickets. And it wasn't so much about purchasing a ticket. Obviously, you want to support your team. But a lot of it would maybe be at the distance that a lot of fans wouldn't necessarily travel for a 6-6 Aggies team that was playing a 6-6 Bowling Green Falcons team, if you would, coming out of the MAC all the way in Detroit. So they were asking fans to support the team that did make a bowl.
A pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Let me apologize. It was on my end, but now, hey, we got to make an adjustment, and we were able to do it. Roy producing today's show. So once again, I apologize. But here is the guest menu. Of course, Charles Edmond is scheduled to join us. Hopefully, we'll be able to talk with Charles. But our other guests are Coach Barry Doyle. He's a women's bowling coach at Southern University. He'll join us in about 6-7 minutes. Actually, we will have a conversation with Coach Barry Doyle. Then we'll visit with Coach Vann Pettaway, former men's basketball coach at Alabama A&M. He's our basketball color analyst, specialist. He does it all for us. He will join with us and talk about Southwestern Athletic Conference basketball. With less than a month left, SWAC basketball tournament. There are some interesting races going on, both on the women's and the men's side. So we'll get the latest with Coach Vann Pettaway. And then we'll switch gears a little bit and talk with Brandon B.J. Jones of Inside HBCU Football. I'll get his thoughts on some of the SWAC football teams going into spring practice and what his thoughts overall from recruiting, scheduling. It'll be football time before you know it. So a lot going on. SWAC basketball. Also, we'll talk a little bit of Southwestern Athletic Conference baseball. But here's simply what's trending on the Carlos Brown Show. Alabama State, and we say this all the time, 2023 SWAC Women's Indoor Track and Field Championships. They won it with 149 points. You talk about a dynasty. That's the definition of a dynasty. Alabama State SWAC Women's Indoor Track and Field Champions with 149 points. 2023 Cactus Jack HBCU Baseball Classic is up and running. Prairie View A&M, a winner over Grambling State 7-5. Mississippi Valley State over Texas Southern by an identical score, 7-5. And then Southern Jaguars, wow. They hold on for a 5-4 victory over Jackson State. Today's schedule: Mississippi Valley State and Jackson State. Major League Baseball is going to be live at 11:05, so it started already. Southern and Grambling State University at 3:05 p.m. and Prairie View A&M and Texas Southern in the rivalry game 2 in the nightcap at 7:05. Southern softball Mardi Gras tournament. Yes, it's Mardi Gras in Louisiana, and that's including the Baton Rouge area. Jaguars took it on the chin. They lost to Eastern Illinois 10-2, and then they followed that up with a loss to Arlington Baptist 9-8. So not off to a good start in this softball season, but hey, they're hosting the softball Mardi Gras tournament. We will take a timeout, and when I come back, scheduled in a few minutes to visit with Coach Barry Doyle. He's the bowling coach, Southern University women's bowling coach. We'll visit with him. That's coming up next. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return after this quick break.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Now, you can live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Note, we will be joined by Charles Edmond next week. He was on location in Jackson, Mississippi, getting ready for the Alcorn State, Jackson State basketball action, both women's and men's action. But now I'm going to be joined by my very special guest, Coach Barry Doyle, Southern University women's bowling coach. Coach Doyle, good morning to you. It has been a long time since I've seen you or laid eyes on you, but welcome to the Carlos Brown Show.
Man, I'm glad to be here. And when I look, when you got some old pictures of yourself on the screen, and I recognized you, I was like, yeah, I remember you. Long time,
Yeah.
man. We talking about 25 years, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, time is good a lot of times, but hey, time is not wasted, Coach. It has been a long time, and very interesting that this guy that I used to see where I worked in the local bowling establishment, and boy, he was just an outstanding bowler. And then lo and behold, a couple of years ago, I said, wait a minute, I know this guy. I remember him bowling where I worked at. Now he's leading a outstanding program in the Southern Women's Bowling program. But Coach, if you can talk about becoming Southern University's bowling coach.
Wow, man. I started off refereeing NCAA college bowling. And people go, they have referees in bowling. NCAA everything. It wasn't a hard job, but you know, just rules that are set by the NCAA. And one day I was refereeing a tournament, I think in Florida, at the FAMU tournament, and lo and behold, my alma mater, Southern University, walked in. I was like, wow, look, there goes our team. And I started looking around, and I saw some coaches for some other teams and that I knew that I competed against, that I beat up on a little bit. And I was like, wow, they coaches. And I was like, man, I could be a coach. And I refereed for 2 years. And then I just decided, I said, this is something I want to check into doing. Our program was kind of middle of the road at the time. And, I'm an alum, and I wanted the Jaguars to be a winning team like I saw the others. And so I went for it. And I was the assistant coach for 1 year. I did it for free. And she retired. They named me the interim coach, and here I am.
And much success, and it goes a lot into saying how you kind of build a program from your starting point to now, coming off a SWAC roundup regular season championship, now number one seed. But talk about that as far as the success you and your bowlers, the young ladies, the success you've had this season.
It started from day one. I started the program. I didn't really have an idea of what to do, so I just started being me. I've always been super competitive. I've always, had the desire to win. I've won a lot on myself bowling and in other sports. Hey, it comes from Southern Lab. We build champions over there. So, now we're freshmen when I was the assistant coach. And when they were sophomores, that's when I became their head coach. And it was three. Well, at the time, I think it was four of us. But I have three left with me. And from day one, I was like, "Look, y'all, if we work hard and keep at it, one day you could be a champion." And I know they looked at me, probably thought I was crazy. But as time went on, as the 3 short years came, they came fast. I could just see them improve, and I could see their confidence in me, my confidence in them, and it just kept blossoming. And when last year we made it to the SWAC tournament championship, we lost, but that kind of set the tone for this year, and because everyone on that team returned except one person. And so we knew we had a good base to build on this year, and it's just been, hey, we can go and win this year. And the girls showed up and showed out.
Coach, some of the elite coaches, average coaches, they always talk about the process. And when I'm listening to you right now, it seems like it was a process that you guys followed. And then also your background in bowling, of course, because I alluded to it early on. I mean, you were Mr. Tremendous bowling locally. So, but that process and relying on your background in bowling, I think it really was a two major factors helping you with your program.
It was. I am very knowledgeable of the sport. I worked hard at it, my craft myself, and so like I said, on the lanes, I think I'm a pretty good coach. Off the lanes, with the paperwork and stuff, yeah. But
A learning process.
but I just have the confidence. I had the confidence in myself and the knowledge that I have, and I also have a group of friends. You remember my buddy Dedrick Fitzgerald? That's been my ace.
Yeah.
Pretty much all my life in bowling, and I go to him. I got a buddy in Atlanta, C Dub. I go to him. So I have my own little village that I pull from, and with the knowledge I had. So and it's nice now to be able to dump my knowledge into these girls and to see it, prosper. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I live through them bowling now, so.
Well, Coach Doyle, I've heard conversations before about the sport of bowling, worked in the industry. there's always a term, or how athletic are bowlers? And I just to hear that discussion, my personal preference is I think they're very athletic. You have different size bowling balls, conditioning of the lanes, and all of that. Talk about that and the all patterns, which maybe some in the audience don't know about, that bowlers have to navigate through in athletic competition.
Yeah, collegiate bowling is it's way different from league bowling. It's different from Friday night bowling, having a beer with your buddy. Yes, the girls, you have to be in shape to throw 15-pound bowling ball. And I have girls that range from 4 foot 10, 11, barely weigh 100 pounds to tall, and you're right. It's different. It's different ranges, but they all throw 15-pound balls. I think I have one that throw a 14-pound ball, and we're working on getting her to 15-pound ball. And to be able to throw a 15-pound ball, you know, 5, 6 games, which is about 60 frames a day, to concentrate. I mean, because you're just not throwing balls. You're concentrating on throwing it to a spot on the lane. They use their legs. Your legs have to be in shape. I mean, if your legs get tired, that's the base of the game. If your shoulder gets tired, your arm gets tired. So my girls work out 2 to 3 times a week. They do small weights, work on their endurance. They run, and those are the necessities to building a good program, because we bowl on patterns, just like in golf where they have wind and they can
Hmm.
move the hole to different places. They can make an easy hole hard by moving. In bowling, they put different oil patterns out. Like our first roundup was 38 feet of oil from the foul line, 38 feet down the lane. Then the next roundup was 44 feet, and they could put three volumes of oil. They could put 6 volumes of oil. So it varies. They could make it slick as an ice skating ring, or they can make it as dry as the Sahara Desert. So and you have to be prepared to bowl on different lane conditions all the time. So
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Working in the industry, I remember a lot of times I would, you know, the approach, have that done very well, because bowlers are kind of particular about what is good for them. And when you talk about lanes, synthetic lanes versus wood lanes, mostly in competition, I'm willing to bet that the lanes are synthetic or more so
yeah.
wood.
No,
Synthetic?
it's synthetic. The bowling industry has moved to synthetic lanes now. I grew up on wood, and then we moved into the pretty much all synthetic now, and the viscosity of the oil that they use now is, I mean, it's improved over the years, because the balls are getting stronger. It's just like anything else. I mean, you can buy a hook now. They have balls now that they have big weight blocks in them. They have different covers on them. I mean, they got some balls they could hook hard as a snow tire, but then you can put some polish on it and you can make it skid like on an ice skating ring, So, I mean, there's a lot to the sport. There's a lot of knowledge needed in the sport to succeed, and that's what I feel I bring to my program. And my girls are showing off what I'm giving to them, and it's priceless for me to see them excel.
And coach, is very competitive, and the sport has really grown. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, collegiate bowling, especially on the female side, they have really Title IX into it, and the scholarships are there. It's bigger than on the boys' side. There's not a lot of collegiate bowling for the boys, and it's a numbers thing. They have more boys sports than
Right.
girls sports, across the board. So bowling is one that they brought for the girls. I mean, it's been around. I mean, Southern's had a bowling team since the early '90s, so it's not something
Yeah.
new. Although we walk around and people are like, "Oh, Southern has a bowling team," and the girls are so tired of answering that question. But in the last couple of weeks, now it's gone from "Oh, we have a bowling team" to congratulations and big time support. So, you know, And this wasn't the first win for our program. Southern won 7 titles between the early 90s up until 2000, I think 11. This is the first one since 11. But so it's been around, and but it's my job, my duty. Just I want everybody to know about it. I want them to know about the program. I want my girls to 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 be put on blast. We don't want to be. We've been called a hidden gem. We don't want to be a hidden gem anymore. We want to
Right.
interrupt the main sports. When you talk about football and throw bowling up in there, right between baseball and basketball, because my
Right.
athletes work just as hard as everybody else's. And that's not negative toward anybody, because I love all our sports. I want everybody at Southern to excel, win championships. I'm just like my AD. He said, he wants to win at Jacks if we play it. So
You know what? I wholeheartedly agree with you. We're visiting with Coach Barry Doyle, Southern University women's bowling coach. Um, Coach, and by the way, if I didn't say it, congratulations to you and the young ladies on the championship. Now, explain the roundups, because you kind of gave me a quick course in that, but for our audience, explain how that goes as far as the roundup.
well, we have 8 teams in the SWAC, 8 schools that have bowling teams in the SWAC. I think we had more, but I think a couple dropped out a few years ago. So instead of us traveling, each week, like in football or basketball, home and away games, that's a little pricey for us to do, because we're not a big revenue sport. We're not a revenue sport at all. So we have roundups where so one weekend, everybody shows up at a neutral site. We were in D'Iberville, Mississippi, near Biloxi. And we bowl Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you bowl everybody twice. So basically 14 matches. And then you establish your win-loss record. So the first roundup, we were 10-4. We won 10 matches, lost 4. 3 weeks later, well, this year we went back to the same place and we did that again, both 14 matches. So you end up with 28 games, and we were 10-4 both sides, and we ended up 20-8. That was our regular season record, and that's how we established our regular season. But and so the first roundup we had a 38-foot oil pattern. The second roundup we had a 44-foot oil pattern. So to kind of give you an idea, the first roundup was 38 feet. We had 10 girls averaging 200 or better. Okay, 10 girls in the SWAC. By the time we finished that 44-foot pattern at the second roundup, we had one young lady averaging over 200. I think she averaged about
Wow.
214 or 15 from Alabama State, and she Savannah Razor. She was the player. She's the player of the year. Now, of course, second overall was my super sensation sophomore, Jalen Rogers. She finished second overall with a 199.7, something like that. She was the freshman of the year last year. She made first team SWAC last year, and she's first team SWAC this year. And also this year I had Atlanta Coward, who's a senior, who's been with me this entire time. She finished sixth, second team, and she missed the first team by I think within like 20 pins.
That's outstanding. And I would be embarrassed to say what my average was, but it was a, a long time ago, Coach. Maybe I should have got some pointers from you. But nevertheless, that's outstanding. And it just seems like that all pattern. Wow. It it's kind of equivalent, I guess, and tell me if I'm wrong. Um, like in football, both teams are playing and say like it's raining or it's snowing. You have to kind of adjust, and it seems like same thing with the all patterns. You have to adjust your game, correct?
Correct. Like we a lot of equipment too. Like each girl on my team has minimum 6 bowling balls. People are like, why you need all those bowling balls?
Uh-uh.
You have to have different balls with different weight blocks with different surfaces. Some of the surfaces are, you have it real scuffed, rough, and tough, and then you have some that are polished, slick. It just depends. Like on the 38-foot pattern, you want balls
Mm-hmm.
that kind of skid down the lane and hook late. On the oilier patterns, when it's 44 feet, you want the surface to be dull so the ball could grab sooner and hook, because you don't get a lot of hook on those long patterns. It's a lot of oil. And so that's how they make the game tough. It can make it, like I said, they can make it high scoring, they can make it a grind where it's, not so high. So that's the competitive side to it. And, that's what makes it real fun and real interesting, and test the girls' abilities.
Yeah, very athletic. That answers that question. When I talked about the
Oh, yeah.
discussion they had before, that's front and center. Answers that. Then from the roundup, you're number one seed, and then you go into a tournament, and the winner of that tournament then goes on to nationals. Correct?
Yes. So our tournament is held March 23rd through the 26th in Arlington, Texas. And the winner of the tournament gets an automatic bid into the NCAAs. You go to like a regional, and I think 8 teams, 4 teams, I can't remember the number, show up to the regional, and if you win that, then you go on to the next round. I think 16 teams go from across the
Hmm.
country. I don't know if it's 20, but I think it's 16. Um, but it's kind of like NCAA March Madness for basketball, just not that big a field. But to have a chance at winning a national title is a you know that would be lovely to do. North Carolina A&T did it about 4 or 5 years ago.
Hmm.
An HBCU team won the national championship, and that's one thing I love about this sport, and being a coach on this level. I don't need a 6'5", 265-pound killer linebacker, or the fastest running back, or a guy that could jump over the backboard. I just need some girls that got some desire, some heart, coachable, and we have a chance at it, and we probably have a higher percentage chance to win a national championship than any other sport.
That's outstanding. Coach, talk about the young ladies on your team specifically. I don't know if they're watching right now, but guess what? We need to invite some on the show, the Coles Brown show, because
Oh, they love
they've
that.
done outstanding.
They would love that. Hey, my girls are they're not afraid of the camera, the photos at all. They love a microphone and a camera. My girls, I'm gonna start off with my I call them my inheritance. Three seniors on my team. Kimberly Kimbo Slice Jackson. We got Lindsay Tater Tot Ugas, and Atlanta Banana Coward. Like I said, they've been with me this entire ride. I can remember when they were freshmen. Because they've taken 1,000 pictures in my phone, so I can see their growth over 4 years, right? And just to see them grow up in my phone, and just like I said, they were looking at me, and I was looking at them, and they was like, "What are we gonna do now?" And I was like, "I don't know. We got to bowl and go win," And
Yeah.
just to watch us go from not knowing where we're going to SWAC champions over the past 4 years. It's unbelievable. I know they can't believe that they're actually going to leave with a ring. But Atlanta's a nurse, and the nursing program at Southern is, it's phenomenal. It's tough,
Outstanding.
very demanding. So to have a nurse on your team is tough, because she can't make practice all the time. Heck, she can't even make all of the events all the time, because
Hmm.
nursing is very demanding. You have clinical. She's a senior, you know. But when I tell you she's there when she can be and gives it her all, I can't say enough about her. Lindsay, you guys, I say Lindsay, and I'm gonna stop saying it because she probably gets mad at me. But Lindsay's like 4'10", 100 pounds. She might be the smallest athlete in the NCAA, but when I tell you she got the biggest heart, and she backs down to no one, not even me. You could send that 6'5" linebacker in to bowl, and I'll put her on him, and she'll whip his butt. And then Kimberly Jackson. I'm telling you, Lindsay's just tater tot tough. Um, Kimberly Jackson, that's my captain. She's been the first captain I ever picked. She's been my go-to girl. I mean, when I need it, look, sometimes I was like, Kim, what we gonna do? And Kim looking at me like, I don't know, coach. And we figure it out, and we just talk to her about everything. I mean, and then Kim's just been a super person. I mean, all three of those girls have just been perfect examples of what a true student athlete. All of them carry 3 point. Kim's like 3-1, 3-2. Alana's 3-0 in nursing, which is like a 5-0 to me. Lindsay's been 3-5. I mean, they take care of their business on and off the lanes. Never missed the practice for nothing. I mean, unless it was schoolwork, never. Kim, and we call her old lady because her knees sometimes never gripe, never miss. I mean, hey, Kim starts sometimes she don't. Never a gripe about anything. Kim just one of those hard nosed athletes. Look, I'm gonna do what I need to do no matter what. And Kim's so happy to have a title coming to her hands. They're all proud. I have another senior that she was a transfer. She came from one of our rivals, J State. Her name is Raja Anderson. Raja. She was happy to come to us and fit into the program. We worked hard this past summer to get her game better, and she's just come in. She's a fire plug, man. She has this energy that you can't buy it. It makes everybody laugh. She does all these crazy dances and stuff, and but on the lane, she's just a true athlete. I mean, she played basketball in high school, and I mean, she acts like a power forward, but she's just on the lane. She gives it her all, and can't say enough about her. And then, of course, I'm gonna talk about they last year they had their own text message with me. They were the fab freshmen or whatever they call themselves, but now they're my super sophomores, man. These three came in last year and just ignited the program. Nyla Wilson, we call her the atomic boom. She throws a ball about 16, 17 miles an hour, and when it hits the pins, it just explodes. She, just big loving. She's just a loving person. You know, nice attitude, great to be around, and a competitor. I have Kelsey Quinney from, and now it's from the Maryland area. If I say it wrong, she's gonna be mad. I won't say it. I can't remember right now. But anyway, Kelsey Quinney came from Dallas, Texas. She worked very hard this summer, and she's become one of the top bowlers on the team that I could depend on. She's like Tim Duncan, very fundamentally sound, very fundamental. She's not a rah-rah girl, because I'm a big energy coach. I like to, fist pump and rah and all. Kelsey just throws the
I
ball.
can understand.
You don't know if Kelsey's shooting a 100 or a 300, but she's been solid this year, and I'm proud of her. And she works hard. And finally, I mentioned it earlier, Jalen Rogers. I knew her grandmother and her mother before Jalen was even thought of. So I was blessed and lucky to know her family, and they found me and they sent her to me. And Jalen has been nothing short of phenomenal. She became my anchor as a freshman early in the season, and she just has the heart of a lion, man. She has ice in her veins. I mean, this young lady has just won games for us left and right. On the lanes, she's a 3.75 student. She's an ambassador of the school. Kelsey Quinney is an ambassador of the school, 3.6. Now is also 3.2. I mean, my team makes my life easy. I don't have to worry about study hall and running them down and checking on their grades. I mean, they just make it easy for me to just coach bowling and make sure they're okay. But I have a phenomenal bunch of girls, and I hope that I'm just this lucky and blessed every year to find young ladies like this, because they're a special group.
Yeah, it sounds like smart, disciplined, tough mentality. You have it all. It's just like a gumbo.
I'm,
You have it all.
and I also will throw in there they are my spoiled rotten daughters, and I have to take full credit and responsibility for that because they are spoiled, and it's my fault. But I mean, when you have a good group like I have, you can't help it. They will not want for anything. I make sure they have anything they need, and I mean, like I said, when I see them prosper and on and off the lanes, I mean, it's just priceless for me. I just love to sit back and watch them just grow.
Coach, we got a few more minutes and want to talk about, now bowling even on the high school scene here in Baton Rouge in Louisiana. How do you accomplish your recruiting? And then two, we'll follow up with these young ladies. They seem like they're going to have outstanding careers after bowling in college. Is there a possibility you can see uh, some of your young ladies maybe coaching one day? But recruiting, how do you accomplish that?
Recruiting, I'm kind of on the job learning. Of course, they like you said, they do have high school bowling here, and they do have youth leagues. So
Hmm.
you're able to. I'm able to go and see some tournaments around here, but you also have to venture out, at other states because, like in Texas, Florida, especially up in the Northeast area, Detroit area, Chicago.
Much
There's
bigger.
just yeah, way a lot of people. Um, they have high school bowling in some states and some don't. So you go through that. There are also Pepsi tournament. They have all these tournaments, youth tournaments across the country. The biggest one is in the summertime. It's called Junior Gold, where they
Hmm.
have to qualify across the country, and so you have like 5,000 kids there for like 2 weeks. So I have to go and camp out for a
Wow.
week or two, and just gotta get the information and get
Scout.
names and scout them. Yeah, that's how you do it. And also the good thing is like when you win, you got some people coming to you too. So like the last 2 weeks, my email has blown up. So it's helped.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Last but not least, Coach Michael Elam. That's my best friend. He told me to tell you hello. You know him
Truck.
as Truck. Yeah, he's
Truck.
listening in or watching it, watching. So yeah, it's coaches. It's interesting. The program, we're gonna keep a close look and eye, and we'll keep in contact. And I like to continue to follow this bowling program because I tell you what, you should be proud of your young ladies, yourself, and the accomplishments that you have so far. Oh, by the way, do you have an assistant or volunteers that help you out as far as coaching?
No, I'm gonna work on that this summer. With my athletic department and check with them to see if I could get one. I do need a little help. It's rough. I wear a lot of hats, man.
Right.
I take care of all the paperwork. That's the part I hate the most: the travel, the logistics, all of it. And but so I'm gonna get a little help. But if I don't, hey, I'm gonna just keep taking care of business
Hey,
until things
hey,
get
do
better.
you do you need me to to hold on to Coach Banks' arm and do just a little nudge in a friendly way? Whatever I can do to help,
Nah,
just
man.
let
You
me
know
know.
what? Nah, I'm sure gets nudged all kind of ways. So I'm not gonna nudge him. I'm just gonna,
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep just doing what I do, man. And we got some good people in our athletic department and staff and stuff, and you just call on them and they help you, and it's never AD always got so much going on. So I go get Miss Sturgis and Willie. I got Willie Scott. That's my man. That's my go-to man right there. He's like Nike. He just do it. So
I'm getting Willie on pretty soon. He may not know it, but he's going to come on. He's going to come on pretty soon. Coach, appreciate the time. A big game in basketball: Grambling State and Southern University. Southern and Grambling
Look, got my
State
stuff on,
NBA
man. Look,
HBCU Classic.
I got my, yeah, wait, there it is. Look, got my stuff on. I'm ready. Got the
That's right.
guitar. Yeah, we ready, man. Coach Woods
3
got them
p.m.
boys
today.
ready. That's right. Coach Wood got them boys ready, and they better go out there and take care of the school from the north, as we call them, because we gonna keep the
Yeah,
bragging rights. So yeah,
yeah.
so
But
looking forward to it.
Right. Southern needs a victory. Needs a victory and to keep pace. But Coach Doyle, it's been a pleasure. Great seeing you again. Hopefully it won't be
Yeah, man.
20 plus years before I see you again, but I'll make sure to get up on campus and I'm coming to see you. I'll call to let you
Yeah,
know
we
in
definitely got
advance.
to do that. Yeah.
All right. Take care, you and your family. Appreciate it, and we'll talk again real soon, Coach.
Thanks for having me, man. Good seeing you again.
All right. Take care. Same
All
here.
right.
That
Go
that
Jags.
was Go Jags. That was Coach Barry Doyle, women's bowling coach at Southern University. When we return, I'll talk to Coach Pettaway. Swag basketball is in full swing. And Coach Doyle was right. Come on, Southern men's basketball team. We've got to get a victory. I don't usually like to say we, but you understand. Southern men's basketball team, they need a victory. We'll talk about that. And it's February. The Jaguars usually have a little slide for the last 3 years, and we're seeing that again. Can they turn it around? We shall see. We'll take a timeout. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Good afternoon to everyone in the chat room, everyone who's watching. If you're just tuning in, we just visited with Coach Barry Doyle, Southern University women's bowling coach, and boy, now we're going to be joined by Coach Pettaway. Coach Pettaway, have you bowled in the past? Are you an active bowler, or is that something you want to put on your benchmark eventually?
Well, Carlos, it's obvious that you don't know me very well. You didn't know that our bowling team, when we first got started at Alabama A&M, I was voted the bowling supporter of the year. I had an opportunity to help finance some of the equipment and stuff for our women's bowling team. I love bowling. I've gone to several conference championships with our bowling team. In fact, one year I came down there to play Southern in basketball. Our bowling team was there. I went to the bowling match. I went over to the bowling match before I even practiced. So yes, I love bowling. I like what those young ladies are doing. It's a great concept. It's a great sport. I do bowl. Uh, they've given me a permanent ball. They've given me all kinds of goodies, man, because I've moved into other
Wow.
sports. It's more than just football and basketball at these schools.
Coach, wow. I think I'll have to go to the timeout room for that. 10 minutes for
Yeah,
not knowing that. I apologize, sir. You're right. Some
yeah.
things, I guess I'll get to know other things about you. I mean, we know men's basketball coach, but I did not know that about bowling. See, I learned something, coach. I
Right, right.
learned
I'm not
something.
the same guy that you see when that whistle blows for basketball. I'm a different person. You know, when the game is over with, all of our athletes in every sport will tell you when I was a coach, I attended every event for
Important.
every sport. Yeah, I think it's very important to have a a family
It
atmosphere,
is.
and to be honest, that's what we used to push, and that's what we used to be about at Alabama A&M. It was a family atmosphere. I encouraged my players to attend other events outside of men and women's basketball,
Mhm.
and we did that as a team. And then as a head coach, I wanted to show the other coaches that I cared about them and I was
Mhm.
involved in their sports too. So I showed up and I always made sure that at least the head coach or somebody knew that I was present if they had a big crowd.
Yes,
I
because
think it's great for
respect.
team morale. Yeah, it's
Yes,
great
sir.
for team morale. Right, right. You got to have that, and that's why the old saying is you find something that you like doing, and you'll never have to call it work. And that's the way it was showing up, going to Alabama A&M. It to me it wasn't work back then because it was just me being away from my family and going back to my family and spending 8 to 10 hours with my family, and then coming back to my other family.
You're absolutely right because let's see, Alabama A&M family that I interviewed or personally met. Ike Rooks, God rest his
Yep,
soul. And that's
yep.
one of the great things about this business, the relationships that you establish and the people that you meet. Let's see. Coach Pettaway, of course, and Betty Austin.
Right. That's my
Wow,
buddy.
true,
Yep, yep.
true lady. And how we actually met in person, it was at SWAC Football Media Day, and I had just got a parking spot, and she had just parked, and I saw her with a red jacket on, and I recognized her. I said, "I interviewed you. I'm Carlos Brown," and so and
That's
she's a
good.
good hugger too as well.
Right.
Outstanding. So yeah,
Yep.
you form relationships, and
Right.
you really respect those relationships. That's a good thing about this business. Uh, Coach Pettaway, I saw you on the Alabama A&M broadcast. I got to watch Southern and Alabama A&M. What a raw spanking that was! Oh, just a raw
Right.
spanking. And Coach, you always try to keep me upbeat. But I'm looking at and we're going to talk Southern SWAC in the conference. Southern now 1-3 in their last 4 games. This is the third February in a row that they've kind of hit that slide, which they start off very well. Big game today. NBA HBCU class against your rival Grambling State on national TV. What is it, in your opinion, and I respect your perspective, that it seems like, is it a coincidence or is it something else that Southern in February, they 1-3. I think they were 8-1, 8-0 in January, but it seems like that February slide has reared its ugly head again.
All right. Well, there are two things that happens during this time of the year. number one, your nagging injuries, they become bigger on your team. You know, in the beginning, I opened up by saying nagging. It was just something minor, but that could progress. Injuries. Number two, you make it you're making a turn. So people have seen you coming to see you for the second time. So
Okay.
you're no longer a surprise to someone. They're better prepared the second time around. And then the third thing that coaches, we as coaches, I'm not saying this is Southern, that we have to be conscious of, we cannot drive our kids too hard because now they're losing their legs. In other words,
Wow.
you have to start backing off some of the physical things that you're doing in practice so that they'll have their legs for game time. But I am not saying that's what the issue is with Southern. I have experienced that with my own team, where we were pushing them too hard late in the season, and so they drug through some of the games. And then once we figured that out, we came up with a better practice plan to where we were not utilizing so much energy during the course of the week. So there are a number of factors there. I don't think there's not just one thing that you can put your finger on. And you know, they'll bounce back. Right now, you guys are on a 2-game winning streak. So now this game today bothers me. It bothers me for both teams because you're playing in Utah. You playing it's the altitude. That's gonna affect
Yeah,
both
high
teams.
altitude.
Right. That's gonna affect both teams. So you playing on a neutral site, you playing your rival. Uh, so for Grambling and Southern, they're both at a disadvantage playing out there in Utah.
Well, at least it's equally a disadvantage. But on the positive, exposure on national TV.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Oh,
yeah,
none of the schools in the SWAC would be able to pay for the amount of exposure that the SWAC and the two universities are getting out of this. It's outstanding. I think what the NBA has done is great, and I just hope they continue to do to push this model.
yeah, and coach also monetary, financially. I'll put it that way. 100,000
Right.
apiece for both Southern and Grambling State. You know, that's a nice piece of change for
Oh yes. Oh yes.
programs such as Grambling and Southern University. Also, honorary captains. I think you will know a couple of these guys for Southern University. Bob Butterbean Love played from 65 to
Oh yes.
77, mostly in the NBA with the Bulls, and then Willis, just iconic
Steve.
read for Grambling State
Steve. Yes.
University. So overall, just outstanding, and I'm hoping that Coach Woods and Southern University is ready, because I know Grambling State's going to be ready, because the last time they faced each other, it was 81 to 73, Southern over Grambling State. Last weekend, Southern
Dante.
went 1-1. Yeah,
Right.
Dante and Coach Dante. Sorry about that.
Dante
Yeah,
Jackson.
Jones
Yeah.
Jackson, uh, men's basketball coach at Grambling State University. Yeah, he's going to have them ready. And then two, they lost the last time. It's a rivalry. But before that game, Grambling State had plenty of success against Southern University. And then last weekend, Southern University defeated Prairie View by 14. And then Monday night, as at Monday nights, man, give credit to Coach Johnny Jones and
Right.
Texas Southern. Last time they met, Southern hit a long shot, so he had his team ready. And then, Coach, the interesting thing about that is they lost by 19 Saturday at Grambling State.
Right. And see that game, I was able to watch that game uh, against Texas Southern. Man, they just came out and just played, man. They really
Yeah,
played. And I know earlier I said you already won 2 in a row. That was your women winning 2 in a row. Your men have
yes,
that
sir.
one game losing streak. That one game losing streak. I had the wrong stats pulled up. But I just think that this is a big weekend, both on the men and women's side. But in terms of just being specific about Southern, I don't think you all need to panic. You're in third place. You're at 9-4. you still got an opportunity to move up. It's just going to be tough. You just got to play. You got to take it one game at a time. You can't be looking ahead. And it starts today out there in Utah.
Well, I tell you, this will be a good start against Grambling State, because if you defeat them, then you sweep them for in the regular season, and I would not be surprised that if Southern's successful in the tournament, you'll see Grambling State. You may see Alcorn State again. And by the way, Coach, Alcorn is on a nice winning streak.
Yep, they've won 5 in a row. Grambling's won 4 in a row. So your top 2 teams, they put together some winning streak. Then don't forget about Jackson. Jackson and men have won 3 in a row. Alabama A&M, we've got 2 in a row. We went on the road and came with 2 in a row. So, this last 3 weeks of the season, man, it's going to be big, man. Well, the last 2.5 weeks, it's going to be big. A lot of seeding will be decided at this time. The championship is still up in the air. But when you look at all these young coaches in this league, Coach Bussey down there at Alcorn, Coach Jackson, Dante down there at Grambling, Mo Williams at Jackson State, Otis over here at A&M, Coach Bozeman at Pine Bluff. You got a good influx of young guys that are bringing different ideas and strategies to this league, and it's only helping the SWAC when it comes to basketball. And then you still got the sprinkling of the veterans. You still got George Ivory. You still got Johnny Jones. So you got a mixture of both new and veterans.
Coach, I was texting with some Alcorn State alum, and they're very happy with the program. They're very happy with Bussey. But here's their concern. Can you guess what their concern is? I talked to 3 that said, I don't know how much longer we can keep Bussey. Yeah.
Right. I know that because to be honest, when we had an opening at Alabama A&M, I thought he would have been one of the candidates, but he was not. It didn't work out that way. But yeah, he's a bright up and coming guy, and there are going to be schools. Alcorn's they got to open up their wallet, man, to keep that guy there. And I don't think it's going to take more than just money for him. I think it's going to probably come into money for the program. I think you got to add those incentives in order to try to keep him there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because that was their concern, and I think a valid concern. And when a coach is doing well, that's a good thing. And it, just my opinion. If you lose a coach to a situation where they can better themselves, I can't fault them for that. Last week I interviewed Coach Doyle, and I said, one of his assistant coaches was leaving because of a better situation, and Coach Doyle threw an uppercut on me. He said, "Look, Southern is the best situation. I always feel that way, but you know what I mean, Coach."
Right.
I think let me put it this way: you would feel good if someone thinks that highly of one of your assistants that they want to come and offer them a chance to grow professionally.
Right. And that's what all assistants should be striving. That every assistant should be striving to become a head coach or move up in the assistant rank. You don't want anybody to be complacent, man. Even as head coaches, I don't want any assistant around me that doesn't want to move up or that want to better themselves. Professional development and growth. Everybody's got to have that, from the head coach down to the last person on the staff.
And speaking of that, development and growth, let's turn our attention to the women's side. It's not even debatable. Number 1 is Jackson State, Coach, and I don't think anyone will disagree with that. But now, where the intrigue is who's going to end up second, who's going to end up third, and then seeding. Talk about that, Coach Pettaway.
This weekend, hold on. This week, the next 2 weeks gonna start this, because when you look on the women's side, Alabama State, Alabama A&M, Bethune-Cookman are all 9-4. Now, don't sleep
Yes.
on Prairie View and Southern because they're 8-5. And look what's getting ready to happen. This weekend, Alabama A&M's got to play Bethune-Cookman. The following weekend, they got Alabama State. So see,
Wow.
two of the teams that are ahead of Prairie View and Southern, they got to go against each other. So somebody's going to slip when it comes to that. And then as you look further on down, this race for the seeding for on the women's side, 2 through 6, is going to come down to that last week of the season. Watch what I tell you.
Oh no,
Because
I
I
agree.
personally don't think anybody's going to catch Jackson State. I think
No.
Coach Reed, I think she's got her, I think Tamika Reed, I think she's got her ladies focused and ready to roll. They understand that they had that slip up against PV, and they've had one close game. I don't think you're gonna see anybody else get them.
Yeah, and Coach, speaking of Coach Reed, just like we're talking about Coach Bussey, but I think Coach Reed, the offer to move on, I think she's a little tougher to crack. It's going to take a
Right,
whole lot, and not just as far as financial. I think it's some other things that Coach Reed would like to have in place. I guess I get the impression she's happy at Jackson State, and she would continue to be happy at Jackson State. However, I think she will still, every year that she's there, she's going to get offers to move
right.
on.
And I think if the right situation for her professionally, I think she would have to take it. You don't
Mhm.
stunt your growth uh, at all. As a professional, you want new challenges, and I think being able to repeat what she's done at Jackson State somewhere else might be the challenge that she needs.
And of course, if she decides to stay at Jackson State, I think the director of athletics in there will have to, for as bargaining power, well, she'll hold all the chips, in my humble opinion,
Right,
because when you're
right,
that good at what you're doing, you, yeah, you have the bargaining chips, and I think she would be content as well staying at Jackson State. But just my opinion.
right. And I think when you look at our women on the women's side, we got some great coaches starting with Coach Reed. And then, the veteran of that group is Frida Jackson at Alabama State. She's probably has the
Hmm.
longest tenure. Then next it should be Coach Pugh. Sandy Pugh should be the next tenure coach. And then you look at all these other new. Well, some of them are recycled, like Coach Thornton at UAPB, Coach Skeet up at uh, Texas Southern. You just got people that Fred McMurray down at Grambling doing an outstanding job.
Hmm.
So from top to bottom, even on the women's side, and then our very own Margaret Richards, she does a great job. Then you still got Nate Kilbert down at Alcorn. So you talk about a bunch of veteran coaches on the women's side. It also has a sprinkler of influx of new people. And I think that's why women's basketball in the SWAC is so competitive. And I'm looking forward to the next 2 weeks. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If I made a prediction, and I say that the number 2 seed will be Alabama A&M, am I way off base with that, or is that a possibility that Alabama A&M gets the number 2 seed?
That's a very strong possibility. But with the two Florida schools coming in, this is the big test. And then, of course, they got to take the show
Mhm.
on the road to go to Montgomery for Alabama State. They got to be able to play on the road.
Yeah, I just like what I've seen of them and their coach. I mean, I put it this way: I wouldn't be surprised if they get the number 2 seed, but I don't see them falling to the 4th seed. But I could be wrong. 2 or 3. Coach, on the men's side, a developing story. We kind of talked about it earlier. Southern, for a better half of the conference, you know, they were in the lead. They own a victory over Alcorn State. They own a victory over Grambling State. But if we look at the conference standing, Alcorn State, as you stated, 5-game winning streak, 11-2. Grambling State, a game back. Then Southern, 9-4. Then Jackson State, 8-5. Alabama A&M, 7-6. Pine Bluff, 6-7. Alabama State, 6-7. And Bethune-Cookman, 5-8. And Prairie View. Prairie View, I guess I'm kind of shocked that they've fallen that far behind in the conference. Of course, Texas Southern 5-8, but boy, Monday night they looked impressive from
Man,
start to finish. They brought their A game.
man, that's a scary team, man. Seeing Texas Southern,
Mhm.
when I saw them return some of those guys against Alabama A&M in Huntsville, here in Huntsville,
Mhm.
man, I said, good gracious, man, what would this team look like if these kids had been together all year? You know, so they're coming on late. They're still gonna have some ups and downs because you don't have that continuity because everybody has not been there for every practice and every game. But that is a dangerous team. I would not want to see that team the first night in the tournament. I would not want to see Texas Southern. No, sir. They
Wow.
got size, they got depth, they got, man, with Henry coming back, they're just a better ball club when they're healthy. And they really showed it
Coach,
in that game against Southern. Yep.
yeah, from start to finish, very good. Alcorn State and Grambling State. Interesting debate by the non-coaches. A lot have said that Grambling State, overall, the best record overall, they are the best team in the conference, although Alcorn sits in first. Is that a argument that can be had?
Yes, it is. You look at what they did in the non-conference schedule. No one, there has not been a SWAC school to be this successful against in the non-conference against Division One opponents than what Grambling State did this year. Coach Jackson had them kids focused early. Yes, in the SWAC, they'd have slipped up a couple times. They lost a couple games they should not have lost. But overall, this is a very good team. They are stacked, man, and they come ready to play. You got to roll your sleeves up when Dante Jackson comes to town. You got you got the game plan for him. You can't go in there
Mhm.
sleepwalking because he changes up so much. He does so many different things, and his team is he's got so many different pieces to work with. And when you look at his stats, you know he's not dependent on one person. He's got several people that he gets his offense from, so that way you can't just key on one person, one or two people.
Coach, if hypothetically, if they were playing for the tournament championship right now today, who wins that ball game?
I would go with I would go with Grambling, and it's because of what I just stated. I think they got more
Mhm.
pieces to work with than Alcorn. You talking about
Mhm.
two coaches that put a lot of emphasis on defense. You got two coaches that like to push it in transition when it's there. But I just think that depth wise, Grambling has the upper hand, and that's my only reason, depth wise.
Well, I asked the right guy because that was kind of the discussion that was had this week. Um, Two more things quickly, Coach. Game of the week on the women's side and game of the week on the men's side, and then I'm gonna switch gears to some quick NBA talk.
Okay, you say on the women's side, I think we said it
Hmm.
earlier. Who was it? Okay, interesting. Uh, Southern and Grambling is going to be. I think that's big because you're looking at teams toward the top. Um, but for me, Bethune Cookman coming in here to play my Lady Bulldogs, I think that's going to be a
Hmm.
big game. And then of course Alcorn and Jackson State, you're not going to be able to pass that one up. So those are the three games on the women's side that I see that is going to be real interesting. And then on the men's side, I don't think you can have a better matchup than Southern and Grambling playing out there in Utah. And I
Yeah,
just think that's big.
and Alcorn and Jackson State. I'll
Right,
have
right, on the men's
an
side,
eye
correct.
on that one as well. Coach, since the last time in the NBA, we haven't talked a whole lot of NBA on the show this season. Although, let me dispel rumors. Rumors have been going around that because the Heat is not doing as well, Carlos doesn't want to talk any NBA at all. Not
Oh,
true.
man.
Not true. Not true. But uh, Kyrie Irving traded from Brooklyn to Dallas. Kevin Durant now in Phoenix, and there were a lot more trades in the NBA, but those in particular, what are your thoughts on that? And also, uh, the national pundits were talking about the Brooklyn Nets, probably the most disastrous trio of stars that played together in the history of the NBA. That's a really broad statement, but um, that's interesting.
Well, let's start with that one. I agree with them. That when
Mhm.
those three guys got together, all of us said, well, nobody's going to stop them. Well, they didn't have to. They stopped themselves. They stopped themselves
Mhm.
by not being available to play together as a group. You had injuries in there, and then you had, to me, the biggest thing is that they never jailed as a group. Those three guys never sat down and worked out all the kinks where they could play together. And I think that was the biggest demise. And they tore up other teams because there were so many moving pieces to get all three of those guys on the same team. And I think they just destroyed some teams when they decided that they wanted to play together and then never got an opportunity to do it. You know, like I said,
Mm.
you haven't gotten out of the first round with who may be three Hall of Fame players on the same team. And so going their separate ways, that was the best thing for them. Now, with Kyrie going out to Dallas, is that the answer? I really don't think so. And the reason why I
Mhm.
say that, he and Luka, they both got to have the ball in their hands to be effective. And it's only one ball on the court at a time. So I don't see that working out. I see Kevin Durant fitting in at Phoenix because of his
Mhm.
style of play. Kevin Durant can fit on any team in the NBA. James Harden, he's got to continue doing what he's doing in Philly. As long as that management is there, I think he'll be okay. But if his guy leaves, he'll be out in the cold again. If Daryl Morey, if he was to leave Philadelphia, he'll be in the exposed again. So out of the three trades, the two trades this year, I think Durant has the possibility of winning the championship first.
Interesting. And they were also talking about a time frame because Kevin Durant's 34, but in
Right.
relatively outstanding shape. But Father Time and Mother Nature, they're undefeated. So I don't think if Phoenix doesn't win it this year, just my opinion, I don't think that you can say it was disastrous for Phoenix. But I think more of a 2 to 3 year period, Coach.
That's all they
Let's see
got.
if they can get a championship in those in that time frame. Also, Coach, in the East, it is clear to me Milwaukee and Boston are the top two teams in the East. No question about it. Now in the West, Denver's mentioned the returning champions, Golden State, albeit they've had an up and down season. And you got Phoenix as well. In the East, you agree?
Yeah, in the East,
Milwaukee and Boston?
Boston and Milwaukee have shown that they are dominant. They've been the
And
two most
consistent.
consistent teams in the East, right? So, and now that they've given the Boston coach an extension, I think that'll settle things down even more. They can make that run. Now, I would have preferred them waiting to after the playoffs to do the extension, but they went on and did it now anyway, so that locks him up. I think Boston might be the most talented of that group. They may have the most depth, but you cannot discount the heart of Milwaukee and Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're coming. If Middleton can stay healthy, Milwaukee's going to be there. But when you start talking about the West, man, you just got to flip a coin because
Mm.
outside of Denver, nobody else is doing anything over there on a consistent basis. You know, 3 weeks ago, all of us thought it was going to be the Memphis Grizzlies. 2 weeks before that, we thought it was going to be the Pelicans. You know, Phoenix has not hit their stride. Maybe now with Durant, they'll have enough games left in the season where they can gel and get some continuity going down the stretch. But the West is wide open. Outside of Denver, I don't have a wild card for that West.
And I'm thinking, Coach, how legitimate of a threat, and I have to put it that way, uh, that Denver can get it done. When I think of Denver offensively, up and down, can get it done. Is it fair to say that defensively is where I have a question mark with Denver? Can they lock down? Can they be not only an outstanding offensive team, but a defensive team during the playoffs?
Well, I think the defense will be their liability. They don't
Hmm.
they don't perform well enough on the defensive end, I think, to win a championship. I don't think they'll win the
Hmm.
NBA title because of their lack of defense. Offensively, they can
Well,
score with anyone, but they can't stop
yeah.
anybody either.
Yeah, oh boy, I don't know, Coach. I think defense wins championships, the old saying. But
Right. Yep.
basketball, and I think more people say that along the lines of football. But basketball, you hear that, but you also hear you got to be able to put the ball in the hole. So it's going to be interesting. Let me take a question from the chat room. Troy says,
Okay.
"Good show, thank you. How do you guys think that HBCUs can start getting some one and done basketball players? Coach, you want to take a stab at
Well,
that?
they
How do you?
started. Howard a couple years ago. Howard had the big sick the Baker kid. He was one and
Right.
done. We just have to keep keep our irons in the fire. In other words, we got to go after the kids. A lot of the coaches on the HBCU level, they don't even recruit one and done. They don't even look at them because they don't think they have a chance. So you'll never get one if you never pursue one. So I just think we just have to include them one or two every year on your list of recruits. Because to be honest now, when we sit down and we start game planning and looking at our roster, we always eliminate the one and done. We don't even put them
Mhm.
down because we have felt like over the years that they're out of our league. Well, that mentality has to change. We have
Mhm.
to we have to look at all recruits the same. And if you start doing that, you'll look up and we'll probably start getting some of the one and done. But it comes with better facilities. It comes with better amenities to get those kids on that level. We've got to have something tangible for those kids to see.
Well, I think you have to always talk about being able to evolve and adapting. And I guess I get in trouble, Coach, because I'm stubborn. I'm still thinking about getting that freshman in and matriculating a sophomore, junior, senior, maybe a redshirt year in all of this, and then they come out. But apparently, those days are kind of, I won't say totally gone, but it's now transfer portal. Um, I know some coaches go the JUCO route for us to
Right.
help their program, but I guess you got to win and win now. And so maybe I feel like I'm in the Stone Age almost in a way because I still believe in getting that traditional student athlete. But each and every week as it goes by, I'm hearing that hey, we got to evolve, and we just can't just just go that route 100%.
Right. I think in order to sustain a program and maintain a program, you got to have the high school kids, man. You can't. You're not going to maintain a program over a consistent number of years if all you're doing is bringing in transfers, because they're not in your program. They're not building culture. They're not helping you lay the foundation when you do that. Your foundation is built on the backs of those freshmen that you bring in and that you nurture and mature to seniors and grad students. That's how you build consistency, man. And I don't think that model is not lost on everybody. Some coaches, I'm still the same way. I'd rather build with freshmen, sprinkle in a transfer or two, but to address an immediate need. But I think you have to build your program with those high school kids, people that's going to be in your program year after year.
Yeah, I would agree. Coach, can you stay on a little while longer, at least to the end of the show?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, I'm
Yes.
gonna take a quick time out. When I come back, there's also been via social media an intriguing idea, and I'll lay it out to you, and then we go to the break. In football, there talk about an HBCU championship in football, between the Celebration Bowl, and then of course you got Division II football teams like in the CIAA and SIAC. So someone brought up the idea of having a HBCU, crowning a champion, but they're talking about maybe bypassing the NCAA tournament. So keep that thought in,
Go ahead.
Coach. I know,
Yeah.
but when we come back, kind of address that, and then we'll talk about the opportunities beyond the NCAA national tournament with the other tournaments that they have that can, get us, meaning HBCU, some exposure as well. Hold that thought, Coach. We'll take a quick time out. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
Microsoft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft. Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry. Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it. Now, what did we learn about using less? You gotta roll it back, everybody. We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
This is Ryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Welcome back to the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. You see all the information on the screen, email, Cash App, for those who would like to make a donation, not only to the Carlos Brown Show, but the Black College Sports Network. It would be appreciated because, Coach Pettaway, no one tells the story like our own. And
Right, correct.
it's been the Black College Sports Network. I'm a family member now. I've been on multiple years now, and so we appreciate all of the work that they do, and the other shows on the network. They're my colleagues, so we would like support because again, no one could tell the story like us. Coach Pettaway, I threw out something to you before the break. Um, Nominating or having a black HBCU, Black College Basketball Championship. Your thoughts on that? I saw how your facial expression was on that.
Right. Well, Carlos, I think it's a great concept. It's long overdue. Um, I want to try to jog your memory now. I'm one of the
Mm-hmm.
guys that always said we should have had a preseason tournament also. Remember back
Mm-hmm.
when I first started being with you
Yep.
all, I told you that I was in favor of a MEAC SWAC challenge in basketball, and I attempted to try to
Mm-hmm.
put it together. And I got resistance from some of the coaches who said we shouldn't play each other and knock each other off because of the number of guaranteed games we have to play. All right.
Oh, there we
But
go.
my whole thing was let's get our product out there. Forget about them guarantee games. Let's the MEAC and the SWAC, CIAA, SIAC. Let's just go at it, man, and show the world, the nation, what HBCU basketball is all about. Now, I was always a proponent of that. I wanted the preseason tournament. Now, when you start talking about postseason tournament, I'm in favor of that. But now, the
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I'm not in favor of is turning down the NC2A. It needs to be a part
Mm-hmm.
of it. Let me give you a scenario.
Yes, sir.
Why not have a tournament? Why not have a HBCU tournament that starts the week of the Elite Eight? It starts
Mm-hmm.
the week of the Elite Eight. Now, if you do that, that means that whoever represented the SWAC and MEAC, if they're still playing in the Elite Eight, that year they'll miss the tournament. But if they happen to get upset or they lose before the Elite Eight, that means that they still have an opportunity to play in the HBCU National Championship. Okay? And in that tournament, you can do it one or two ways. Include NAIA Division II, let them play in rather, and then they get the MEAC and SWAC champion.
So, how
And
many teams you're
that's
looking
just
at, Coach?
8 on the women, 8 on the men.
Okay. Um, Neutral location. I know. I know. I'm
Yes.
kind of just putting this out on the spot.
Atlanta, yes. Yeah. Put it in Atlanta, Central Point. Put it in
That
Atlanta.
one location, just one location,
Yes.
and then okay, all right. I don't know why I was
Correct.
thinking about. You said 8, not 18, where you have to have
Right.
multiple sites.
Right.
Um, and the reason of Atlanta because location.
You can get more traffic into Atlanta because of the airport. All airports connect into Atlanta.
Oh yeah, it's a
Easy on
major hub.
travel.
Major hub. Yeah.
Right. Easy on travel. And being in Atlanta, your sponsorship dollars will probably be better. There's a better chance of having sponsorship dollars coming out of Atlanta. So I think it's a great concept. I think it would be great, but I don't think you get very many people to look at doing it if you give up that NC2A piece, because
Right.
now
Right.
you're giving money back. We don't need to give money back. We need to get more money. So that's why I say
Coach.
you start the
Yeah.
tournament the week of the Elite Eight.
Now, would you need and forgive me if this seems like just a real bad question, but you wouldn't need any approval from the NCAA, would you?
Yes, you would. Yeah, because you're members.
Okay.
You still would. Yeah.
Okay.
You still would have to get. But I guarantee you, they would approve it though.
Because you can look at the possible economic impact, if not only on the local economy, but also a payday for if it's successful, and I believe it would be for the
Right.
participants.
Well, I think they'll be looking at more of the diversity piece.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they'll turn it down. I think they want to do inclusion and diversity. There it is. You giving the HBCUs
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity to stand alone, and they're still part of the NC2A.
Yeah,
So
I'm
it's
going back in
something
the
that
chat room, Coach.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I
No,
mean,
no,
I
go
think
ahead. Go ahead.
it's something. It's something that has been talked about. It's something that I think you're going to see in the next couple of years. I think you're going to see something about it. I think you're going to see people make a move on trying to put together a national championship for HBCU basketball, and
Because
it's long
also,
overdue.
yes, sir. And also, the commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, commissioner of the Mideastern Athletic Conference, CIAA, and the SIAC, they have agreed to form more of a partnership and to at least meet, I want to say, once a month or periodically. And so it's to their advantage now to help facilitate this. If that's what, if that's on the agenda, if that's something they want to do, I agree with you. I think it would be outstanding. And in Atlanta, I love how you said with the Elite Eight and during that time. And it's something to build on because we've looked at enrollments across the country, HBCUs, they've grown. And that's a good problem to have as far as the problem is housing and trying to get have your students live on campus and right outside of campus. So it's a good time to be a HBCU. Now, with that being said, of course, there's still going to be some struggles, but hey, I would definitely love to see this happen, Coach. I really
I
would.
would too, man. I think it'd be great for the game of basketball. I think it'd be great for our HBCUs. And when you look at you know, that's just like this weekend. You got what HBCU go. You got A&M on the U coming up Monday. So you get more and more exposure. So I think you would be able to come up with a TV rights. So I think there's money. There's money and there's prestige and I really would love to see the thing go. And I said I think it's long overdue. It's long overdue, man.
Yeah, because Coach, you look at it. Let's just say if this would have happened 5 years ago, you look at some potential games between Texas Southern, Norfolk State doing very well.
Yep.
North Carolina Central, and what is the possibility of an NAIA school? They have some outstanding programs there that could
Right.
get in that tournament and make some noise because we talk about what March Madness, and we really
Right.
love to see those upsets. So you get a Virginia Union in there, a Winston Salem, and they get a chance to face Alcorn State, say like now or next year if that tournament was going on. The possibilities
Right.
are
And you get
outstanding.
and in the SIAC like Miles has dominated the SIAC for the last 3 or 4 years. You get a program like that going. Benedict was going for a while, and so there there's a lot of good HBCU basketball being played. A lot of people don't know it. We as coaches, we know about it because some of those guys, you definitely not gonna put them on your schedule. You not. There are some teams you just not gonna put on your schedule now because them jokers will clean your clock, man. But there's some great basketball to be played out there, man. And I just think the public needs to see it. And a tournament, a national championship game, a national championship tournament would definitely give you the exposure that you're looking for.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Coach, and I agree with you. Um, were you when you were coaching? Didn't Alabama A&M was Division II when you started at Alabama A&M, and then they made
Yes.
the move up to
Right.
to Division
Correct.
One. So it's people may think that there's a lot of it's not a lot of parity between the Division IIs and the Division 1s, the HBCUs, but it's more of it's really not that much difference, right? Besides of the obvious things, scholarship, but from a competitive standpoint, you guys made the transition, and maybe a few hiccups, but for the most part, you made it smoothly. And I think
Right.
other programs playing in this tournament, it wouldn't be a big shock to them.
Right. It would not be a big shock. And you got some programs out there that can play, man, that Division two programs that are good. You got NAIA programs that are good. It's just that they don't have the big budgets, but they got athletes on their campus. They got coaches who are committed to their profession, and then you got athletes who are committed to their game and they put the work in. And when you put the work in, you get results. Now, one of the other things that you talked about, like tournaments
Mm-hmm.
for HBCUs, I'm still on the selection committee for the CIT, and we'll be putting
Yes.
another tournament together, postseason play. I look at teams doing the. That's why I try to get out as much as possible in person to see teams, so that when we start evaluating uh, starting next week, looking at teams to invite. I know the personnel intimately. I know the coaches, that kind of thing, and I could put in a good word for some of the SWAC schools and some of the other teams that I've seen in the MEAC. And the CIT has been going on for years, man, and we've had several SWAC teams to play, and some of these guys look forward to that because they don't want their season to end once that SWAC tournament is over with. And I think right now, if you look at it, we got maybe 2 or 3 teams in this SWAC that need to be invited to the CIT, and it's going to be my job to try to help get some of those teams in, man, that don't make the big dance.
Well, Coach, tournament time is fast approaching. Then you'll have your brackets, which I'm not going to play this year, Coach. Well, I didn't play last year either. It's just not good anymore for me. The excitement is gone. But you look at some of the things that the committee look at, the last 10 games played. Who's hot? Who's not? The last teams to get in to the tournament. Wow. And no matter, each year somebody's unhappy, somebody got left
Right.
out that people think that they should get in. When you look at the tournament you're representing, is that some of the things you look at as far as the last 10 games, who had the better attendance at home, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, attendance comes into play if you want to host. If you want to host, yeah,
Mhm.
we're gonna look at the attendance and see how you've been doing. We look for matchups. We look for something intriguing. Now, this is not an HBCU, but uh,
Mhm.
indirectly it is. Mike Davis' son has an opportunity to break the all-time scoring record for basketball. That would be an intriguing matchup. And the way Detroit is going, they're in a one bid lead. So their
Mhm.
chances of going to the big dance is only if they win that tournament, right? So if he doesn't
Right.
get in the tournament, Mike's son would be a drawing card for the CIT. Come watch this kid, uh, one of the top scorers that college basketball has ever seen. So they look for matchups. We try to look for HBCUs that we can put uh, regionally against teams that they may not normally play.
Mhm.
So all of that comes into play, man, and it's fun. It's a committee. I'm not on there by myself. There's a committee that puts together the brackets, and we send out the invitations. Most of the time, I do the invitations at the SWAC because I'm there. So it's real interesting, and I look forward to it. And it's going to happen in the next couple of weeks.
Last but not least, Coach, kind of like a true or false here. There is less parity in women's basketball compared to on the men's side. True or
I don't
false?
agree. I think it's false. There is parity. I think it's parity. Yeah, you got in the SWAC. Yes, you got Jackson State, but look at the rest of them. Everybody else is right there together. There's parity.
Oh, I'm sorry, Coach. I mean basketball, college basketball in general. I should have prefaced
Oh,
it
oh, oh,
by saying that. Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry.
oh, yeah,
College
yeah, yeah,
basketball
yeah.
in general. Okay,
Right.
because you see
Well,
some.
well, when you look at it on the women's side, like South Carolina, Stanford, uh,
Oh,
those schools, Notre Dame, LSU now, those schools are going to be out there. There's parity on all levels, men and women, in my
well,
opinion.
yes, sir. On that note, wow, and South Carolina's tough. My goodness,
Yes.
I got a chance to
Yep.
see.
Oh, Carlos just froze.
Yeah, okay, I'm back.
Yeah. Okay. I see.
I'm
All right.
back, Coach. I don't know what
All
happened.
right.
It's been an interesting situation here at headquarters. But
All
we'll
right.
close out today's show. Coach, your final comments on Southwestern Athletic Conference basketball and college basketball in general.
Well, I think we got a great product. Let's all be proud of it. Let's continue to do things the right way. And I'm looking forward to the end of this SWAC race, and I'm looking forward to that SWAC tournament.
Hopefully, one day it will be an at-large bid coming for Southwestern Athletic Conference, the regular season champion. We've had that discussion millions of times. I'm in the minority on that. The tournament champion gets the representation for the conference. But boy, that should be the goal. One day, tournament champion and an at-large bid. Because
Yep.
coach, the regular season champion, they've stood the test of time.
Oh,
They've made
yes.
the journey and they should be rewarded. But then those on the other side of the equation will say, well, if the regular season champion, if they did in the regular season, they can do it in the tournament. But, coach, in the tournament, anything can happen. And we've seen that.
Absolutely. Oh, yes.
On, on that note, coach, I appreciate you hanging with me for extra couple of segments. You and your family continue to stay safe and stay blessed.
All right. Thank you, Carlos. God bless you, man. Let's have a great day.
See you next week, coach.
All right. Bye-bye.
Want to thank Coach Pettaway for joining me on today's show. Want to thank Roy behind the scene, all of our guests and those who watch. We appreciate you. The conversation in the chat room continue having that discussion. Until next Saturday at 11 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Until next time, as always, peace and God bless.